Hey guys, my name is Soaches, and today we're gonna be making this capsule from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm gonna start off this build by cutting off a piece of a poster tube. I received a couple of comments asking how I get the right dimensions for my projects, and frankly most of the time I'm just eyeballing it. I decided to do it a bit differently this time and scale up a picture of the capsule to match the size of the tube. That way I have an accurately sized reference photo that shows me exactly the size of the details. I'm gluing on a sheet of cardboard on each of the sides to make it easier to add the bevels. I thought about making the bevels using newspapers and paper mache, but instead I just made the groundwork using tinfoil. It's easier to shape, less time consuming for the amount I need, plus you don't have to wait for it to dry. You can also use it to make a hat, which I suppose you can also do with newspapers, but the hat won't be as shiny. I deliberately saved a bit of space to be able to patch up the rough areas and make the edges rounder using paper mache. The cylinder itself is standing at 6 cm, and after adding the paper mache, the bevels will be around 2.5 cm. I think I mentioned this in like every single video, but another reason for using paper mache is to make the air drying clay stick better. Like I said, I'm just using air drying clay. I'm just basically covering the whole thing and then leaving it to dry overnight. Because I put the clay around an object, it may crack in some places as the water evaporates. I fixed this simply by filling the cracks with more clay, because I'm not gonna be outsmarted by clay. So I managed to make it more symmetrical, but I went a little too deep with the sandpaper, so I kinda exposed some of the cracks that I filled in last time, so I'm gonna have to go back and deal with that. And at the same time I'm gonna be adding a little bit more clay on top, which is gonna be the base for the cork. I tried to mark it at the absolute center before I continued with the clay. So this is just gonna be the small round part at the top that connects to the cork. I tried my best getting the general shape right, but in this case it's a lot easier to make adjustments to height and overall shape after the clay has already dried. At first I thought the triangle piece in the middle was supposed to be poking out, but after looking at different photos and screenshots, I'm not so sure that it is. Either way, I decided to keep it as an extra detail, plus I think it looked a lot better than just painting it on. It might seem a bit counterproductive to paint a white area white, but it does actually make a difference. It also helped me to cover up any remaining pencil marks and exposed areas, and as I also came to realize, if there's no paint on the clay, it turns slightly beige after we add the varnish. The letters were, I wouldn't say they were challenging, but they took a lot of time. I used a small brush and I tend to get carried away when I make stuff like this, and I sort of start nitpicking on these like tiny details that no one is ever gonna notice. You know, I think it's pretty common. I bet some of you are watching this are going, oh, I do the same thing. So, for the foundation upon which we will build this cork, we're gonna use a cork. Most of this felt a bit like a trial and error thing, and I'm making it into two separate pieces which I will then refine and work on separately before gluing them together. The hardest part was getting the size right and making it round enough, because if I mess up now, you would easily be able to tell when it's done. What you're seeing now is actually my second attempt at the top piece, because I used foam board inside the first one and it got way too big, so now I'm just using a bit of cardboard instead. After gluing them together, the next step is to add clay at a slanted angle on the cork's underside. It should start halfway up the bottom piece and end at the outer edges of the upper one. I've never used this tool before, but I found it really helpful. So if you don't have any specific clay tools, I highly recommend at least using a knife or something, because it was pretty hard to do it by hand. For some reason I've had trouble getting the color right on my first try lately. The capsule has changed its appearance a bit throughout the series, from a more pink to a more pink/orange, and yes, I'm great with color names. But different screenshots also makes it look slightly different because of different lighting and different backgrounds, so I had to repaint it once I realized it looked way too orange. I've already lined up the center of the capsule and the cork so I can drill a hole into both of them. I'm then going to connect the pieces by using a dowel, because it will stay on better than just using glue, plus it makes it easier to place it in the exact center compared to just trying to determine it by how it looks. There was a small gap between the cork and the capsule that I filled in with a thin line of clay, then I repainted that area to make it look more seamless. The only thing left to do now is to apply a coat of varnish, because we want it to look good when we throw it in the faces of our enemies. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed. If you want me to make something else from Smash Bros, or something else entirely, let me know in the comment section below. I can give you some spoilers and say that the next video will probably be something from Don't Starve. Anyways guys, as always, take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you all next time.